What is up? What is going on, everybody? I am back with another Mariners post-game recap for y'all. Before I get started, thank you again to all the new subscribers. If you could please hit that subscribe button. I'm closing in on 2,000. Hoping to get there this week sometime, so you guys don't mind helping me out, especially if you're enjoying these. Maybe you're just casually watching. Hit that sub button and also smash that like button. That helps me out, and it lets YouTube know that you're enjoying the video, so more people might enjoy it as well. If you're looking for doom and gloom, if you're looking to be super frustrated about this loss, I shouldn't say that. If you're looking for doom and gloom overall or just overall frustration, probably not going to be the video for you. There may be other Mariners fans and other Mariners YouTubers that are freaking out. This is not going to be it. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows, but I'm going to be more positive here. I'm going to give you guys an honest take on it, and I'm not going doom and gloom after this. I'm sorry, I'm not. Tons of things to be frustrated about. Very frustrated. The Mariners dropped to the Orioles 5-3 in 10 innings, second straight extra inning loss to Baltimore. Baltimore really been a thorn in the side of the Mariners this year. Mariners go 2-4 against the Orioles this year, losing 3 of those in extra innings. The other one was also a 1-run loss, and the Mariners actually outscore the Orioles by 15 runs on the year, but end up losing the season series, losing every close, potential close game that there was in this season series. So, a lot to be frustrated about, but overall, please, everybody, if you're a Mariners fan, take a deep breath. Do it with me right now. Deep breath time. Listen, they're a game and a half back at Toronto. Yeah, it stinks they lost ground today. The Mariners play 3 games the Blue Jays don't play. So the Mariners, if they can win those games, are right there. They have the wild card. They have the tiebreaker with Toronto. So they can get that wild card just by doing that, just by winning those 3 games. 12 of the Mariners' next 16 games here are against Kansas City, Chicago, and Oakland. Now, they might lose some of these games. I don't know, but we'll worry about that when it happens. Then there's going to be some cause for concern. But right now, until that happens, they're playing teams they should be beating here coming up in the next few weeks. They're probably going to lose some of them. They're not going to go 12-0 against those teams. And then they have the Astros in there as well. But there's a good chance they can beat Kansas City, Chicago, and Oakland, and at least gain some ground on Toronto during that stretch. So overall, they're still in good position. If you'd have told us, anybody, Mariners fans, 15 days ago that this is where the team would be, I think we all would have signed up for this. Yes, this was a frustrating series. I'm going to get into it. Baltimore's also a really good baseball team. There's a reason they're probably going to win the AL East this year and are going to be a serious competitor to come out of the American League. I don't know if they will, but they're going to be a very serious competitor to do it. This is a good baseball team, and you hung in there with them. If anything, maybe there's some optimism to take away from this. The Mariners just played one of the best teams in the AL. They pounded them game 1, and they had a couple really close games that they just couldn't pull out. I get yesterday was super frustrating that George Kirby threw 9 shutout innings and he didn't win. Today was frustrating. You had a lead late, and then you tie in the ninth. We're going to get into all this, and you lose it. Super frustrating. It is. But the notion like, oh, you can't lose these type of games. You can't do it. Well, guys, they did. And yeah, you can. They're still a game and a half out. Toronto lost 2 kind of brutal losses to Seattle about 3 weeks ago in Seattle. That Friday night was a tough loss for Toronto. Saturday, they blew a big lead. Can Toronto not get in now because they blew those games against the Mariners? Of course not. It happens. Games like this do happen. Any close game is going to feel that way. Every close game, especially now with 45, 46 to go, is going to feel like you can't lose that one. And now, listen, the Mariners don't have a ton of margin of error. It certainly would have been great to win this game and the one yesterday. It would have helped them tremendously. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been great to win these. I want to win these games. But every one-run loss is going to feel that way. They're all going to feel like games that you should have had, that you could have had, that you lost. And that's always going to make you feel, oh, we're going to look back on this one. But just a week ago, they won a crazy comeback against the Angels with a Cade Marlowe grand slam. They won, truthfully, 4 games in that series that they could have easily lost all 4. Yeah, it looked like they were turning the corner in these close games, and I still think they are. They just dropped a couple in this series. They were not going to win every game. They were not going to win every series the rest of the way. Now, if they start losing series in Kansas City, Chicago, Oakland, we'll have a conversation about it, and I may have to change my tune a little bit. But it's not going to be because of this series against Baltimore that's going to make me bow out on the season. Everything is still right there for this baseball team. They began this weekend a game and a half back at Toronto. They're still a game and a half back. They just played arguably the second best team, maybe the best team in the AL East, and did not lose any ground in the playoff race in terms of the wild card. I'm not going to get too much in the division here. We'll see what happens there. But in terms of wild card, they did not lose any ground on the Toronto Blue Jays. So let's get into this game on its own. Certainly a very, very frustrating loss. I am not going to deny that. So I'm not telling you not to be frustrated about the loss, because it was. Baltimore struck first in the top of the third. The Mariners responded with a Geno single in the bottom of the third. Julio's double in the fifth made it 2-1. The Orioles responded with I think it was an Austin Hayes single in the top of the sixth that made it. It was Austin Hayes 2-2. So let's talk about the first. Maybe there's going to be a lot of Scott talk, because a lot of Scott talk going around. I'll give you my take on it. And I'm sure some of you will like it. Some of you won't. I thought Scott was fine today. I did think a little bit in the 10th inning. I had some questions. We'll get into that. But other than that, I did not have an issue with it. Some people didn't want Bryce Miller going back out for the 6th inning. I didn't have a problem with it. He was only at like 80-something pitches. They're in a stretch of playing 13 games in 13 days. Trying to get your starter 6 innings, not the worst thing in the world here. And in that inning, Ryan Mountcastle had a swinging bunt single. Adam Frazier bunted himself out, moving the runner to second, and Austin Hayes hit a soft line drive that dropped in. There was nothing that Bryce Miller could have done there. Any pitcher could have given up that run in the 6th inning. Now, I didn't think Bryce Miller was amazing overall. 5 2/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 2 walked, 2 Ks. Listen, Baltimore's a really good lineup. And to the Mariners starting pitchers' credit, they did a great job this series. I think Miller was amazing. I thought he did what he needed to do. Very similar to what you got from Emerson Hancock against the Padres. Not sending this start to the Hall of Fame, but it was good enough for this team to win this baseball game. Now, unfortunately, they didn't, but Miller did his job good enough. Topa came in, got the final out of the 6th, got 2 outs in the 7th, then Gabe Spire ended up getting the last out. I think it was against Santander. Was it? I think it was Henderson. I think it was Gunnar Henderson. I don't quite remember. Brash pitched a beautiful 8th inning, did walk the leadoff hitter, which I think was Santander. So I think it was Henderson that Spire faced. So Matt Brash has not allowed a barreled hit since like early June. So just to give you a notion of how good Matt Brash has been, he has been downright elite. The Mariners didn't do anything in the 8th. Top of the 9th, Andres Munoz comes in. Westberg hits a 1-out double after Munoz, I believe, struck out Hayes. Mateo runs for him. James McCann walks, and then there's a balk called on Munoz. I actually did think he balked. I don't think he came set. We can argue all we want. The bottom line, it was called. I have no problem with Scott arguing that in that instance. I think that was totally fair. With the game on the line, I think that's a tough call to make. So, while I think it might have been the right call, I do think Scott did the right thing going out there, getting his players back and standing up for him and doing that. So no problem with Scott getting tossed there. In instance, if I was manager, I probably would have done the same thing. If anything, just out of frustration, for that happening, that instance. But I did think there was maybe a balk there. Rushman, I think it was Rushman, hit a little tapper back to the mound. Munoz gets to it, flips it home. Mateo's just too fast, and he's safe. This is where my title of the video comes from, Game of Inches, and I'll keep going with it. Mateo's safe by that much. Munoz balks. I thought it was a balk, but, let's say by that much. You know what I mean? So you've got a balk. Then you've got the little squeeze play, which Mateo was safe. He was safe by that much, and the Orioles take the 3-2 lead. I don't know what to make of Munoz. And then he ends up getting a double play and getting out of it. Like, in some regard, he was fine. He gave up the double to Westberg, which it was a slider that didn't slide, hung up, not a great pitch. But then he walks McCann. That's not great either. The balk is something that's more, and I think part of that's that Mateo speed getting on base. And he did a better job of trying to hold the runners on. But you saw it still being an issue for Munoz. But that's more of like, that's not Munoz. I don't want to say this. It's kind of like when pitchers make errors. And it's why it doesn't count as an earned run. Because it's not the pitcher, it's the fielder. It's not. The error has nothing to do with their pitching. Kind of the same thing. Like the balk stinks, but like that's a fix. I'm not worried about that going forward. You know what I mean? And then Rushman hits a little tapper that gets a run. And I'm not taking away the Orioles did what they needed to do there. That's why you have guys like Jorge and Mateo for their speed out there so they can score on plays like that. But I also can't get too mad at Munoz when someone hits one 6 feet and gets a hit out of it. There's not much you can do. Then he gets a double play. So do I think Munoz was great? No. He's got to find that way to get Westberg out in that at bat. He can't walk James McCann. Can't balk. Like, he has not been super sharp as of late. But I also think he's been in some spots where it's made him look worse than he is. Like last night, he gave up the ghost runner. It's going to happen, So, but go back to the Anaheim game, he wasn't super sharp, but he was sharp against the Padres. So I don't know what to make of it. He certainly does not look as dominant as we saw last year. But all the underlying numbers would say he's just fine. So listen, relievers are like this, guys. It is, they pitch one inning at a time, two at most. You're going to have moments and streaks where they just don't look great. Starters can get through it because they're pitching 6, 7, 8, 5, whatever it is, innings. So if they have a little rough inning hiccup, they're back out there 10 minutes, in 10 minutes pitching the next inning. I don't think Munoz was great, but I also thought he was fine. Like I think normally doing what he did this inning, despite the double, normally you're going to get out of that inning. He had one ball hit hard and a walk. Other than that, he got a strikeout, a little slow rolling ground out, and a double play ground out. So that's that. Bottom of the ninth. Again, the game of inches. Ty France comes up, and Cedric Mullins makes the catch of the year. Nothing I can do there. I will tip my cap to that one. There's my nice hat hair being shown for all of you. Cedric, I love Cedric Mullins, man. That's a guy like I've always liked and wish he was a Seattle Mariner. What a play. Can't say anything about it. What a catch. Completely robbed Ty France of a home run. That was one of the first times I didn't know. I thought that got out, and then I saw him coming up and celebrate. I was like, no, he caught it. But game of inches. That goes out. We're tied. Next batter, Dom Canzone. Big Dom Canzone comes up. Very cool to see his first Mariner home run. An absolute bomb off the Hit It Here Cafe to tie the game up. Now, who was the pitcher over there? It was Bauman. I can't say that would have been a walk-off because you don't know how Bauman would have pitched Canzone had Ty hit the ball out. So, you know what I mean? It's always hard to say what the scenario would have been. But just looking at it from that perspective, if that Ty France ball gets out and Canzone does what you do, game over. Mariners win at 4-3. But, Mateo is safe by this, and then Mullins makes the catch like by this, and we're playing more free baseball going to the 10th inning. I didn't understand Trent Thornton pitching in front of Taylor Saucedo. Now, I don't know if Saucedo was unavailable. I know he was getting loose in the 9th. I saw some people maybe speculating something happened in the bullpen and Saucedo got hurt, although I don't think Scott mentioned it in the postgame. So we'll see. I'm not sure on that. You never know. So this is why it's always hard to get into these discussions because, why did this guy pitch or that guy pitch? And sometimes you find out a guy was unavailable and he didn't even really know it. And sometimes managers keep that under wraps. So if that was the case, then I would say nobody really else you can go to there. But with Santander, Mullins coming up, I think you go to Saucedo there. And Saucedo's just been in more high leverage spots than Trent Thornton. I like Trent Thornton. I thought he's pitched pretty well. But, that pitch to Mullins. Mullins just missed a home run on the 4th pitch of that at bat by, again, this much, game of inches. But then 2 pitches later, Thornton throws the same pitch, just an even sweeter spot, and Mullins crushes it for a 2-run home run. So I'm not really sure what Trent Thornton was thinking there with that pitch. I would have rather seen Saucedo against a couple lefties. Doesn't mean Saucedo would have gotten out of it either. So, no, I don't think the decision going to Thornton costs them the game necessarily because you don't know if Saucedo's going to get it out either. And the Mariners didn't do anything in the bottom of the 11th against, bottom of the 10th against Fujinami, who's been throws really hard. And his peripherals are better than his ERA, but man, it came with an 8 ERA. Mariners did nothing in the 10th inning. So, that would be the only thing I would be critical there of Scott is like, I probably go to Saucedo, but I also don't know if Saucedo wasn't available. And again, there's no guarantee Saucedo gets you out of that either. Like, relief pitching is hard. It's a shame because the Orioles used Cano in the 8th and didn't have Felix Bautista. So you had to feel pretty good about the bullpen matchups. But, unfortunately couldn't come out of it. And listen, I've been someone that's really defended the Paul Sewald trade. I thought it was a great trade. I still do. I think the Mariners got great value back for Paul. We saw what Dom Canzone did today. Rojas actually had a good game, and Ryan Bliss, I believe, had a walk-off single in Tacoma. But I also did say that it wouldn't have been a bad idea to add another veteran reliever. I think maybe you did see that a little bit today here. But listen, Munoz has got to be better. Munoz should be able to get through that and get you to the 9th inning, regardless of whether it's something that's, Was Munoz a little unlucky? Was he hit? Whatever way you want to go, it's still the results have to be better from him going forward. So, and then in terms of Thornton, it is what it is. I mean, the only difference in this game would have been you probably have Paul in the 9th and Munoz in the 10th, and there's no guarantee that they don't give up runs either, guys. Like, I mean, Paul has given up runs before. People kind of acting like, oh, they should have kept Paul. Well, guys, Paul wasn't perfect all the time either. Relievers do give up runs. And yeah, I think they should have gone out and looked for kind of a veteran reliever, someone else, just to offset the Sewald trade a little bit. I think they try to get a little cute with guys like Thornton thinking they can fill in, and so far not really getting it done. But it is what it is. The other thing needs to be talked about is the offense. The offense got to be better. I mean, 3 runs total in the last 2 games is not going to be good enough. I'm not going to freak out about it, but they've got to get going again. This is not a great performance from them. They're missing J.P. Crawford for sure. But yeah, I mean, just too many. Cal 0 for 4. Teo just 1 for 4. Ty, now I know Ty just missed a home run 0 for 4. Cade Marlowe hit a ball that was fouled by this much. There's another game of inches moment. I will say kudos. Josh Rojas had a single and a walk. Reach base twice on Friday. Starting to play better. Starting to see where you are getting that upgrade over Colton Wong. Yeah, I'm not going to judge Josh Rojas on that bat against Felix Bautista last night, when truthfully he probably had the best at bat against anybody against him in the 2 innings they played. Murph pinched hit was 0 for 1. I wonder how long Mike Ford is for this roster. He pinched hit, popped out. Again, I'm not against Mike Ford on the bench as your last guy. He's got enough pop that he's good in that situation. You put him in there and maybe he runs into one and ties that game up. So I'm not against having him there with that, but he doesn't play a position. Just there's not a lot of value, and he's been in a massive slump. He's better than he's been in the slump. He's not this bad, but he's just not adding a lot of value to the team overall. So yeah, super frustrating loss. No doubt about it. And listen, there's 40, I don't know what the math is, 63 and 123 minus 6, 117. So you've got 45 games left. Guys, any close loss is going to be frustrating at this point. There is not a close game the Mariners won't lose that isn't going to feel frustrating, that isn't going to feel like that's going to be the one that makes this season a disaster. They're all going to feel like that. Every team is going through that right now. Houston lost 2-1 today. They're probably thinking, oh, man, we should have swept the Angels. We blew them out, then we lose a little 1-run game here. The Blue Jays yesterday lost in the 9th inning to the Cubs. Should they have felt, should their season be over? Now, I know they have the lead on the Mariners, but the Mariners do have their destiny in their hands. They play 3 more games than the Blue Jays do the rest of the way, and they're a game and a half back. That's your game and a half. And the Mariners have the tiebreaker. Everything is still right there in front of them for what they need. They've won like 25 out of 37 games. They've won 8 out of 10. It wasn't going to last forever, guys. They were going to lose again. Okay. Like, yes, again, I sound like a broken record. Certainly understand the frustration. I certainly do. But, and we sit there and go, well, it would have been better if they just lost 13-0, but would it have? Because that means you're just getting dominated if you lose 13-0. That means you're not competing with these teams. Baltimore's really good. The Mariners played them even, and unfortunately, Mateo's safe on that play. Mullins robs Ty France. Marlowe's goes foul. Mullins straightens it out and gets it fair. I'm not taking away at all from Baltimore. I'm not at all. That's not my point here. My point is that you played a pretty good series against a playoff team. You just unfortunately were on the wrong end of it. Hopefully you've got some teams here now coming up that are much, much weaker. Kansas City ain't running out the offense that Baltimore does. You actually kept Baltimore's offense in check pretty much this series. But they don't have a Felix Bautista on the back end. Doesn't mean you're going to win. They may struggle against Kansas City. I don't know. And if that's the case, then yeah, I'm going to be a little harsher on this team. They're not going to get a free pass if they lose 3 out of 4 to Kansas City. I'm not going to sit there and just say, okay, it's all fine. It may be they're still in it, but there's going to be more criticism. There's criticism here, but, it's just that what am I trying to get to here? Like, it's not put it aside, but it's just they were going to lose a couple games here. And like I said, any close game you lose is going to feel like the end of the world. That's pennant race baseball. That's what we're in right now. That's what it was last year. It was the same way. There was losses. Or like, is this going to be where they drop off? And maybe it is. Maybe this is the start of a tailspin. I don't know. But there's no reason to think that until we see it. And there's no reason to think that losing 2 close games to a team that's 73-45 is the start of it, in my opinion. So that's all I've got. Remember to hit subscribe, hit that like button. I'm going to be live for the game tomorrow night, so come join me, hang out. grab some popcorn, some sodas, maybe some brewskis, and we'll watch the Mariners take on the Royals on Logan Gilbert Day and see if we can grab a W and get this thing back turned around and get that win and get that lead, that Toronto lead reduced a little bit. So have a great night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hope you all have a great Monday. Take care. And as always, go Mariners. Peace.